Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a quick video on my tank setups for my carnivorous plants and how I manage my indoor collection. So here's my subtropical tank, if you will, but it has a Capensis, Scorpioides, Pulchella, Slackii, and my Morinensis in there, my bad, Pinguicula. But mostly Drosera in this one, sundews, but I keep sphagnum moss in the corner, live sphagnum. It helps keep the humidity up, and it helps retain moisture in the bottom, so I don't have to water it as much. And this is a 5-gallon tank. It's actually meant for reptiles, I believe, but it came with a grate lid, which helps with air circulation, which is nice. But the sphagnum moss and the water sitting in the bottom keep up the humidity. It works pretty well. I haven't had any problems with the setup. I've had to clean out the bottom a couple times with algae issues, but it hasn't had anything wrong with it. I think it's up to about 87 at the highest in the daytime, but usually more like 85. And it gets down into the mid 60s occasionally, but that's pretty good for some of these plants like the Capensis and especially the Slackii that appreciate that kind of cooler temperature drop at night. And the Australian pygmies appreciate it well enough as well. But it's a pretty good setup. It keeps it humid. I'm rocking just an LED shop light for this one. There's what it is, but this works. This LED shop light, I think it was from, I don't even know. I got it forever ago, but it works really well. It's pretty big. It's a long shop light and it provides a decent amount of light. I also have one of those kind of like generic Amazon brand full spectrum grow lights, although they might actually not be full spectrum, but there's a little look at that. But yeah, this is a good setup for any subtropical sundews or pygmies, Pinguicula. Although you do have to respect the Mexican butterwort's dormancy because they do need a dry period right around this time, so I'm probably going to be pulling him out of this soon. And another advantage of having sphagnum moss in with your plants is you can actually use it as propagation means. Here's a Pinguicula leaf cutting, Drosera leaf cutting, kind of crappy looking Drosera. But you can grow plants in the sphagnum moss as well. It keeps up the humidity. It looks pretty, and it's just nice. But I definitely recommend using dwarf sphagnum moss or red sphagnum moss or dwarf red sphagnum moss like I have. But it just has a nice color to it. But yeah, this is my 5-gallon for the subtropicals. This is a pretty nice one. Another method I use for plants that can kind of tolerate a little bit lower humidity, like this Pinguicula primiflora. Let's see what else I got. Walk over here, and the Drosera multifida extrema. This is another plant. I keep these in just like a kind of plastic gardening water tray. Keep it, like an inch of water in it for the multifida. But this one is just a huge plant, so it's not really practical for a terrarium. I mean, it's got some monster leaves on it, but it's also just nice having it out in open air, and it doesn't need as much humidity. Same thing for this Nepenthes ventricosa. It doesn't need as much humidity either. And then over here is my Heliumphora minor. I actually keep this one in a bag just so I can kind of move it around a lot because the tank's impractical. But again, that dwarf red sphagnum moss is great top dressing. Helps keep it a little bit cooler as well because you want to keep the roots on this guy pretty cold. But the bag helps keep it humid, and also because my the room I'm growing these in isn't really necessarily climate controlled, it's just room temperature. Although it does heat up during the daytime because of the lights, and it cools down at nighttime because it's cold outside. At least this time of year, it does cool down in the mountains pretty decently in the summer as well. So it's nice for the Heliumphora and some of the subtropical sundews. But I actually moved this plant to the windowsill at night, not open with the window closed, but you can kind of get a little bit of a temperature drop going there with the Heliumphora because they like it cooler at night. But if you have problems with your Heliumphora, if you're just growing it like this and you don't have a necessarily climate controlled space, I definitely recommend just putting it next to the window at night if you live in an area where it gets cooler at night, because it'll definitely help out. But I keep this guy at around 81 in the daytime is my highest, and at nighttime it potentially and occasionally gets down to the mid 50s, but it does pretty well for me. Again, as you saw in the last video, if you haven't watched that, it's pretty small, but yeah, it's doing well. They don't grow very fast. And then down here, I have another little propagation thing. These are actually plants I'm propagating from stuff I'm growing outside. So Drosera binata and I think this is a Capillaris potentially right down in there. Just some other miscellaneous stuff. I'm growing this not in the terrarium just to see what happens. But here's my Drosera ordinansis extrabensis, which is a woolly sundew, a Pedalurus complex species. But I have it in a 2.5 gallon terrarium. These guys are from northern Australia and they like really warm and really humid. So this is a perfect setup for them. Right now it's at 95 degrees. It's always good to keep especially for species like this that need a really warm or species that need a really cold, it's good to keep a thermometer in there. But this is a setup. I keep it for 95 is about as hot as I allow it to get. After that I'll kind of let it cool down a little bit, but I let it get to mid 70s at night occasionally. But I have it. I have these panels of this. I think I got this from like if you order food on the internet, this will kind of be in the lining of the box, but it's just like reflective bubble wrap. But it really helps reflect light back to the plant to reduce the loss of light out of the sides, and it also keeps it warmer. And I have also, I'm not sure if you can really see this that well, but I have a little heater, like a fish tank heater, inside of a cup of water. So if it ever gets too cold here, you can turn that on, and that'll keep it heated up. But right now the lights are keeping it at about 95 inside. I have saran wrap on the top. There's the actual plant doing pretty well. Having some weird growth right now, but it's doing great. Here's the lights I use for it, same as before. You might be able to see that right now, but just LED full spectrum quote-unquote grow lights, although it's probably not necessarily true. But it does pretty well. The lights get really hot, which is kind of weird for LEDs, but it keeps it nice and warm. And I actually do have little panels of this stuff right where the plant is as well. But this is a good setup for the woolly sundews. This can accommodate more than one individual, but all I have at the moment is one, although I am hoping to expand my collection of this subgenus of Drosera because they're stunning. But yeah, this is my kind of sundew terrarium update / collection / kind of how-to, I guess. But yeah, as long as you can get a hold of a fish tank, it's a pretty good means of growing these guys. But you can just grow them in open air as well. But I kind of prefer the terrarium because you can keep it a little bit more climate controlled. But yeah, this is my terrarium update, I guess. I probably already said that, but I hope you learned something from this, or maybe got some ideas on how to care for your Drosera. But yeah, like and subscribe if you want to, and have a nice day.